Doshavariti Paradusi Mandabudhe Sanchintayami Charanota Bhakti Heto Vrindavani Ramanariti Prasita Bhuma Suparamule Yanam Param Sasidam Niyuktam Dantastu Deva Prabhupada Namo Namaste 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 Kripa Purna Dristi Namaste Namaste Mahamudana Namo Namaha Prashantarasha Sita Prabhupada Imam Daksha Daksha Bhakti Siddhanta Shishaya Bhakti Vedanta Swaminam Prashanaya Prashanaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Rangabhumi Bhushan Gauralila Gauranga Bhavi Prasashara Mantra Shila Radha Madhava Parapadma Vinasi Ananda Rasi Prabhupada Namo Namaste Jaya Prabhu Maharaj Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shri Guru Sarana Shri Guru Charana Padma Devala Bhakti Prasna Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamini
भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती प्रभुपाद की जय।
गौर किशोर दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय, डॉक्टर विनोद ठाकुर की जय, सिद्धार्थ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय, इनको श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शादी पूर्वक वृंद की जय, राम शास्त्रार्थ शास्त्र की जय, सर्व स्वामी की जय, मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय, मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय, गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय, आपकी देवी महारानी की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, श्री गौरी जय, श्री जगन्नाथ बल सुभद्रा श्री राधा शरण बिहारी दर्शनार्थी की जय, दर्शनार्थी भक्तवृंद की जय, विचारी गौर अभिमान हरे हरे। All glories to Small Krishna, all glories to Small Krishna, all glories to Small
Notice speak of our spiritual master. And now to the story speak of our own brothers. By His grace, we are across the ocean of our suffering. His divine loving grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna devotees, we will now have to welcome our online Zoom Bhagavatam Sangha to our morning program here at the temple. And to also welcome Mother Arcanabhakti, who will be giving today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're continuing the first canto, chapter 15. I also just want to, as a quick reminder to the online group, we're going to do a little different than we typically do. So because we're in the temple room, we're going to repeat line by line. And if you could remain on mute, you can still chant where you are at home. But we'll do the call and response live here in the temple room for today. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalla Girivaradha Gopi Janavalla Girivaradha Yashodanandana Rajadana Randana Yashodanandana Rajadana Randana Yamuna Tira यमुना तीर His divine grace, Abhay Chandanand Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samameta Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachari Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshapani. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी श्रीमद्भागवतम Canto 1, Chapter 15. The Pandavas retire timely. Text 28. Please repeat. Suta uvacha evam chintayato jishno Krishna pada saroruham Sauhardenati gadhena Shantasid vimalamatihi Suta uvacha evam chintayato jishno Krishna pada saroruham Sauhardenati gadhena Shantasid vimalamatihi Suta uvacha evam chintayato jishno Krishna pada saroruham Sauhardenati gadhena Shantasid vimalamatihi
Sutta Vacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Saroruham Sauhardenati Gadhena Shantasi Vimalamati Sutta Vacha Evam Chintayato Vishnu Krishna Pada Saroruham Sauhardenati Gadhena
Shantasid vimalamatihi
Suta uvacha
evam chintayato jishno
Krishna pada saroruham
Krishna pada saroruham
Sauhardenati gadhena
Sauhardenati gadhena
Shantasid vimalamati
Shantasid vimalamati
Sutta
Vacha
Evam Chintayato
Jishno
Krishna
Pada saroruham Sauhardenati gadhena Shantasid vimalamatihi
Sutta Vacha Evam Chintayato Vishnu Krishna Pada Saroruham
Krishna pada saroruham
Suhita iti kate icha
Sauhardena Digadena
santasid Vimalam mati
Shantasi Vimalamati
Sutta Uvacha
Sutta Uvacha
Evam Chintayato Jisno
Evam Chintayato Jishno
Krishna Pada Sarvaruham
Sauhardena Digadena
Shantasi Vimalamita
Shantasi Vimalamati
Sutta Uvacha
Sutta Uvacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Sarvaruham Sauhardena Digadena Shantasi Vimalamati Sutta Uvacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Sarvaruham Sauhardena Digadena Shantasi Vimalamati Sutta Uvacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Sarvaruham Sauhardena Digadena Shantasi Vimalamati Sutta Uvacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Sarvaruham Sauhardena Digadena Shantasi Vimalamati Sutta Uvacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Sarvaruham Sauhardena Digadena Shantasi Vimalamati Sutta Uvacha Evam Chintayato Jishno Krishna Pada Sarvaruham Sauhardena Digadena Shantasi Vimalamati. Did anyone memorize it? We heard it so many times. Word-to-word translation. Sutta Uvacha. Sutta Goswami said. Evam. Thus. Chintayataha. While thinking of the instructions. Jishnu. Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Pada. The feet of Krishna. Saroruham. Resembling lotuses. Sauhardena. By deep friendship. Ati Gadhena. In great intimacy. Shanta. Pacified. Asit. It so became. Vimala. Without any tinge of material contamination. Matihi. Mind. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjun's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Please repeat. Sutta Goswami said, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjun's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. Purport. Since the Lord is absolute, deep meditation upon him is as good as yogic trance. The Lord is not different from his name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, and specific actions. Arjun began to think of the Lord's instructions to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only those instructions began to eliminate the tinges of material contamination in the mind of Arjun. The Lord is like the sun. The sun's appearance means immediate dissipation of darkness or ignorance. And the Lord's appearance within the mind of the devotee can at once drive away the miserable material effects. Lord Chaitanya has therefore recommended constant chanting of the name of the Lord for protection from all contamination of the material world. The feeling of separation from the Lord is undoubtedly painful to the devotee, but because it is in connection with the Lord, it has a specific transcendental effect which pacifies the heart. Feelings of separation are also sources of transcendental bliss, and they are never comparable to contaminated material feelings of separation. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, all devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you very much and all the devotees online also through Zoom and through YouTube. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class at ISKCON Philadelphia. Today is the last day of the year 2022. So today's verse is Sutta Goswami speaking. So in the past few verses we saw how Arjun is remembering all the various incidents, how Krishna protected him, and the last verse that we read yesterday, Arjun is actually remembering Krishna's instructions to him on the battlefield of Bhagavad Gita. I'm sorry, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He's remembering Bhagavad Gita. So yesterday's translation is, Now I'm attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. So Arjun's heart is burning in separation from Krishna. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada compared Krishna to the sun. Krishna Surya Sama. Yes? So Krishna is compared to the sun. And when the sun arises, today it's foggy outside. When we were driving, it was all foggy. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares Krishna to the sun, and material ignorance. Actually, he compares the wicked people or sinful people to fog, but we can also understand fog to be like ignorance, because why are people sinful? Because of ignorance. So when the sun rises, the fog is immediately dissipated. So similarly, when Krishna appears in the heart, immediately all our pain and lamentation is removed. So Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport that the Lord's appearance within the mind of the devotee can at once drive away the miserable material effects. Of course, Arjuna is a devotee. So at that point also Srila Prabhupada is saying towards the end of the purport, it is certainly very painful, undoubtedly painful to the devotee when he's separated. But still, because this separation from the Lord, this separation is in connection with the Lord. This pain is in connection with the Lord. And as the Lord is absolute, the first line says, he is absolute. So therefore, on the absolute plane, pain and pleasure, they're both good. There's nothing bad on the absolute plane. So even separation from the Lord is blissful, transcendental bliss. Of course, we should also understand Arjuna is also setting an example for all of us. That's why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to him. So how we can remember Krishna, and because what is our situation? We are all in this material existence. Mamaivamsha jiva bhuto jiva loka sanatana manaha shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. We are constantly struggling with our mind and these six senses. That's our situation. We are struggling with the mind and six senses. So how do we get out of this struggle? How do we become peaceful? So we'll just look at the verse and the key words in this verse. So, evam chintayato jishno. What is chintaya? Chintaya means to think of. To think of, to remember, to meditate on. Krishna pada saroruham. Saroruham means like lotuses. So Krishna pada, Krishna's lotus feet, Krishna's feet are just like lotuses. They are very, very soft and pinkish and very cooling. So Arjun is thinking by meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna, the feet of Krishna, which are just like lotuses. And what is the effect of thinking of Krishna's lotus feet? Sauhardenati gadhena shantasi vimalamati. So we'll first think of, consider the first word, chintayata. So Srila Prabhupada is telling us, Srila Prabhupada gave a class on this verse on December 6th, 1973 in Los Angeles. So in that class, Srila Prabhupada says about meditation. Meditation means we should begin meditation with the lotus feet of the Lord. That means at any time, as soon as you meditate, you should be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. This is actually called transcendental meditation. And when you become perfect in this meditation, anytime when you want, as soon as you meditate, you're able to envision, you're able to get the darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord, then you can move higher, move to his ankles, his calves, like that, go higher and higher. Ultimately, you come to the beautiful smiling lotus face of Krishna. So the first two cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are compared to the two lotus feet of Krishna. So this is our meditation when we study Srimad Bhagavatam. We are actually meditating, the first two cantos, we are meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. And as we keep studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we come to the 10th canto, that is the smiling lotus face of Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is practicing how to meditate on Krishna. Even deity worship is meant to help the devotee to practice how to meditate on Krishna, on the lotus feet of Krishna, like this. So, evam chintayato jishno Krishna pada saroruham. What happens when you meditate like this on Krishna? Shanta means peace. Shantasi. So, who is not looking for peace in this world? Everyone wants to be peaceful, isn't it? And when you become peaceful, Krishna says, Nasti buddhir ayuktasya nachayuktasya bhavana. What is that? Continuation. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya nachayuktasya bhavana. What is the next line? Nacha bhavayata shantir ashantasya kutasukam. Yes. So, unless there is peace, how can there be any happiness? Ultimately, everyone is seeking happiness. We want to be happy. But in order to become happy, first you have to be peaceful. And in order to become peaceful, we are seeking out a friend or some books or games or movies, whatever. You try to pacify your mind in various ways in this world. We are all looking for peace. And when we become peaceful, then we'll become happy. What is the best peace formula that Krishna is offering in Bhagavad Gita? Anyone can tell me what is the peace formula?
Perform your duty and think of me.
Okay, yes.
No, that he is the supreme enjoyer.
Correct. Shloka. Yours. Bhaktaram yagyatavasam sarvalokam. Yes. So he is Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is the best friend of all living entities. One who knows this, that he is the enjoyer, he is the proprietor, and he is the best friend, then such a person will actually become peaceful. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. Gyatva Shantum Richati. He is actually the best friend. So, in the how he is the best friend, in the 10th canto, when we hear about Lord Brahma stealing the calves and the cowherd boys, Parikshit Maharaj is listening to this pastime, and he hears that all the Brajbasis, the cowherd ladies and the cowherd men, they love Krishna more than their own sons. So Parikshit Maharaj got this question: how is it possible that someone can have this type of unprecedented love for another's child more than their own son? We cannot understand. So in that context, Sukadeva Goswami explains in a series of verses that actually in reality, the most dear person to anyone in this world is, who is the most dear person? Yes, ourselves. Each person loves himself the most. And the reason he likes his wealth or his family or his friends or community is because they're all related to him. The fact is, I like myself, and anything which is mine, then I like that. But the reality is, I like myself. So this is, and one who is in a conditioned soul, who is in the bodily concept of life, my understanding is, I'm this body. So therefore, when there is a competition between mine and I will prefer myself, which I think is this body. So when I want to save my, if there is a difficult situation, like when there is finally, where is that, that point where it's either me or mine, then I will just save this body. This is in the material consciousness, because I am the dearest thing to me. But actually, the fact is, I am not this body. So somebody who is more advanced, he's not just, he's able to realize that I am actually a spirit soul. He has some understanding of that. Then he will see that the self, who is the self? The soul. The soul is the dearest to him. So what is the proof for this? The body is becoming old. The body is falling apart. If the body is the dearest to me, I will try to hold on to this body, isn't it? But even though the body is useless, I'm just there on the bed, but still I have the desire to live. So therefore, that I is the dearest thing. But if you go further, who is this I? This spirit soul is a part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. Krishna is the soul of the entire creation. The reason this soul or myself is dear to me is because of its connection with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the fact is, Krishna is the dearest object to everyone. But right now, there is a covering. This real knowledge, this reality is covered with material identification. So therefore, externally, we may have different designations. Somebody, like I belong to a particular faith, or I belong to a particular nation, or whatever. But actually, our position is, Krishna is our dearest object. So therefore, as soon as we connect with Krishna, we become very peaceful. Because he is our best friend. And once we connect with him in that relationship, that is the source of the highest pleasure, and that is the source of all peace. Jai Shri Radha Sharad Bihari Bhagwan ki Jai Jagannath. That is the source of highest pleasure. So our situation is here, we are looking for peace by various methods in different relationships. But instead of looking for peace here and there in this world, when we connect with Krishna, then we will become the most peaceful and very happy. So Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy of a finger. When this finger is connected with this body, it is so useful, right? I can write, I can cut vegetables, and I can make nice preparations, I can make garlands, and I can, draw, I can do so many things with the help of this finger. But when this finger is cut from my body and it is thrown there, you can still call it a finger. You may even say this is Mataji's finger, but that finger is useless. So Krishna is the center of the whole creation. He is the center of everything. And we are all his parts and parcels, just like this finger is a part of this body. When the finger is connected with this body, it is so valuable. But when this finger is cut from this body, then it is useless. So in this society, in the human society, there are different grades, different classes of people. One class of people you can call the intelligent class, another class the administrative class, a third class is called the productive class, and the fourth class is the worker class. You may call it by any name, but these divisions are there. They are natural divisions. In any society you go, you will have these four classes of people. The intelligent class, so in the modern world you can call them the teachers, professors, or the philosophers, the thinkers, the critics. So these would be the intelligent class of people. Administrative class would be the politicians, yes. Who else? The police. So that would be the administrative class. The productive class would be the agriculturists, the industrialists, right? Those are producing. And worker class means you simply pay them for some work, you pay them some wages, and they're happy with that. That's the worker class. So all these four classes of people are there. They are like fingers. Now, the center of everything is Krishna. When each of these classes uses his particular abilities to connect with Krishna, then they will be like that finger which is connected with the body. All their skills are very useful. This is called Daiva Varnashram. Daiva Varnashram means everyone has specific abilities, but those abilities are used in serving Krishna. But instead of using our intelligence to find out what is the center, what is the center? The Supreme Lord is the center. And each one of us has a very intimate relationship with this center. We have to first of all find out who is that person with whom we have the most intimate relationship. And then we have to find out what is that relationship. And then we have to engage in that relationship. Once we come to this point, then we are completely satisfied. We are pleased. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje. Ahaitukya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. We become completely satisfied, very, very pleased. So by connecting with the Supreme through devotional service, the soul, the self becomes completely peaceful, completely satisfied. So, how do we connect with the Supreme Lord? So that is through bhakti, we said. There's another word here. Sauhardena, ati gadhena. Yes, we are all, Krishna is the center, but we all have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada says, that relationship is already existing. Our relationship with Krishna is there. How? An example is the relationship of a father and son is already existing. Let's say the son goes away from home and he comes back after many years. As soon as they meet once again, the relationship is already there. Immediately both of them become very delighted to see each other because that relationship is existing. I heard this from my husband. My husband had also left home when he was young to join the Hare Krishna movement. And he went and he became a brahmachari in the temple. For several years, he didn't go home, no communication. And he went back, I don't know when, after how many years. And he was completely changed, shaven and saffron clothes. And when he went home, his mother didn't recognize him. He knocked on the door, his mother opened the door. She didn't recognize who he was. This is a sadhu, she's like Indian, traditional family. She just covered and she's this like, who's this? And then he says, Mother, you don't recognize me? I'm your son. And immediately she started crying. So the relationship is there, However much time may pass, nobody can change that relationship of a parent and a child. Prabhupada also says of, a husband and a wife, and what else? Two friends, old friends, right? You meet after a long time. You've been very good friends, close friends, and by time you are separated. And then when you meet once again, that relationship is there. Immediately, once again, that relationship is there. That affection is there. It's revived. So all of us have a relationship with Krishna, a very intimate relationship with Krishna. Right now, we have forgotten Krishna, like that finger that is separated. As soon as we reconnect with Krishna, that relationship is there immediately. The heart becomes joyful. The heart becomes joyful. So in relationships also, there are different grades. There is Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, different levels. So Shantaras means God is great. God is wonderful. He's amazing. That's about it. That's good. But somebody who goes one step forward, I'm already serving my family. I'm serving the society. I'm doing so many things. But God is so great. And He is my, most intimate friend. Let me also serve Him. Right? I'm serving so many people. Let me also serve Him. As soon as service begins, then you come to this platform of dasya, servant relationship. He's my master, I am His servant. And then when you become a very good servant, when you serve very nicely, that servant will become so intimate with the master that the master trusts the servant as a friend, he will reveal his confidential matters with the servant. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Dr. Bose. Dr. Bose was a family friend of Srila Prabhupada's father's, and Srila Prabhupada also worked with him. So Dr. Bose had a driver, a chauffeur, right, his car driver. And he was so intimate with his driver that whenever he got in the car, he would reveal his mind to him, discuss all confidential, just like a very close, intimate friend. So when you really perfect that master-servant relationship, you serve very nicely, then you actually can serve in the capacity of a friend. There will be friendship. And then further on, you can get the relationship of Vatsalya. Vatsalya means parental affection. Sometimes I've seen, right, when there's a spiritual master, some disciples, it's not artificial, we cannot pretend. But sometimes the disciple is so intimate to the spiritual master, he serves the spiritual master so nicely, he even can sometimes, like kind of chastise the spiritual master. So that is like, who does that? Usually that's parental affection. Out of care, the spiritual master puts himself in the care of the disciple, right? The disciple takes care of him just like a parent. That's called, that affection like a parent, somebody who's taking care of you. And then of course, ultimately there is madhurya, like that, different relationships. So we have to find out what is that relationship with the Supreme Lord. That relationship is already existing. What is that shloka? Nitya Sadhya Kabunoi. Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanadi Koraya Uday. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Koraya Uday. So this relationship is eternally existing. How to revive this relationship? Shravanadi begins with hearing. It's not that now at this point, all of a sudden, so what is my relationship with Krishna? It will be revealed to us. The process is you have to hear, right? You serve nicely as a servant, and then you go further. What is your relationship? What is that perfect position in which your heart is completely satisfied? That will be revealed when we render devotional service to Krishna, beginning with Shravanam. So in this case here, Arjun, there's one more point here. Shantashi. So by remembering Krishna's instructions that he gave, how he gave those instructions? Sauhardena, Ati Gadhena. So this relationship is very, very deep, very, very intimate. Arjun and Krishna's relationship is in a relationship of friendship. So in that relationship of friendship, Krishna gave him some instructions. And now Arjun is remembering them. And as soon as he remembered them, Vimala Matihi, whatever material contamination was there in his mind, everything was cleared and he became pacified. He was so much in grief, in such pain and separation from Krishna. And then he remembered the instructions given by Krishna and his heart was pacified. So our position is like that finger which is cut off from Krishna. We have to reconnect with Krishna. How do we reconnect with Krishna? So whether it is Krishna's name, his form, his pastimes, because he's absolute, they're all non-different. We can reconnect with Krishna by hearing about him, by chanting his holy names. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said all the time, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra all the time. That way you are in connection with the Supreme Lord. When you are in connection with the Supreme Lord, there is no question of any material contamination. So once we realize this relationship, Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tata. You will think there's nothing greater than this. This is the highest. There's nothing beyond this. You are completely satisfied, completely happy. Then when you reach that stage, even in the face of the greatest difficulty, you will not be disturbed in this material existence. Even at the time of death, you will not be disturbed. So that is the perfection of realization. So I will stop there. If there's any questions or comments. Yes, I will do.
in the verse, it's switched around in the translation, but in the verse, Arjuna first thinks of Krishna's lotus feet, and then thinks about his intimacy, friendship, and the instructions. So sometimes we don't think of, when we think of friendship, we don't think of focusing on the lotus feet. That's more like dasi. You understand that?
Can you please repeat that?
Yeah. So in the verse, Arjuna first Krishna Pada Sugata. He first focuses on Krishna's lotus feet, and then he talks about the intimacy of friendship of the instructions. So oftentimes in friendship, when you think about looking at the lotus feet, you think that's more of a dasya ras. You could say that. Or whereas the friendship is not necessarily focusing on the lotus feet.
Prabhuji, so the higher rasas include the low rasas. So when you say friendship, the person has already gone through the others. Then he has come there. It's not that when you go directly, friendship means you're directly going, it includes dasya. He has actually graduated from that, he's gone higher. So that's why that includes there. So when we talk about Arjun's friendship, it is understood that he's already, he has, so he has gone past that. So that is included. Just like a Vaishnava means he's already a Brahmin, like that. So somebody who's on Sakya relationship means already he has crossed that. That is included within that relationship, like that.
So there's no, so the devotee is not able to, let's say, switch from one ras to another ras based on the situation, if I'm hearing correctly.
Actually, the rasa, see, right now we are in sadhana bhakti. So when you say devotional service, we have sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prema bhakti, 3 times. So in sadhana bhakti, we don't really talk about rasa. Our relationship is like master and servant. That is our rasa. As we progress in sadhana bhakti, higher things are revealed to us. Then at a certain stage, the relationship, which rasa we are in, will be revealed. So our mood is always in the mood of a master and servant. Krishna is the master and the servant. So in that mood, we serve Krishna. We don't really meditate on what is my particular rasa with Krishna, because that will be revealed to us. There's no question of thinking. But if you're asking somebody who's on that level, can they switch from one rasa to another? If you're in a higher rasa, for example, let's say the conjugal rasa, madhurya rasa, that is the highest topmost rasa. That includes all the lower rasa. How do we understand? So if you are the wife of a person, you can also serve in the capacity of a servant. You clean the house for the husband, wash his clothes, iron his clothes, so on and so forth. Servant, you're acting. So you are wife, but you can also serve as a servant. You can be a friend. When he is in some difficulty, you give him some advice, or he can share his thoughts with you, act like a friend. And as a parent, Vatsalyaras also, you can, you can show affection, like you cook for him, make sure that, so that's Vatsalyaras. So you can act in that capacity. And ultimately, certainly in conjugal relationship also you satisfy him. So when someone is on a higher rasa, according to the situation, they can act in any of these rasas. But if you're on the level of a dasya, servant rasa, you cannot act on the level of conjugal rasa or vatsalya rasa, because your eligibility is only here. You understand? Like that. But it's not for us at our level. For us, we are always serving Krishna in the mood of a servant. Thank you. Any question? Yes, Prabhuji.
In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that separation shouldn't be compared to material separation, material physical separation, and that this separation felt by Arjuna was transcendental bliss.
Yes.
So if it's transcendental bliss, why would he need to be pacified?
Because it is still separation. The Brajvasis were in separation from Krishna, they would cry. But in that separation, they experienced bliss. So certainly they would cry. It's not that because they're experiencing bliss, you don't see them celebrating and dancing that Krishna is not here. They're actually crying. But that crying is giving them pleasure. So this is also explained by our acharyas that in this material world there is one phenomenon, like dry ice. Dry ice is so cold, so cold, so cold that when you touch it, it actually burns your hand. It has the opposite effect. Ice is supposed to be cold, but when you touch this cold object, it is burning your hand. It's having the opposite effect. So similarly, in separation from Krishna, when that separation is so intense, so intense, so intense, that in that separation, when you think of the Lord, you're actually experiencing pleasure. The opposite, it's having the opposite effect. But it has to be that intense. So certainly, why is he crying? Why is he in grief? Because he is in separation. That's why Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport that the feeling of separation from the Lord is undoubtedly painful to the devotees. It is painful. It is transcendental, but still it is painful. But because it is in connection with the Lord, it has a specific transcendental effect which pacifies the heart. Now, what it is, that has to be experienced by somebody who's on that level. I couldn't comment much on that. Really.
Mataji, I do remember in your lecture, and thank you for your class, that you stated briefly about somehow or other a disciple of a spiritual master comes to a level of parental love.
Yes.
Can you go in further an explanation as to how a disciple can have that sort of ability to save and get back to the spiritual master?
Yes, well, actually it's the same as the previous question. So our relationship with the spiritual master is, he is the master, I am the servant. But when we do that service so perfectly, meaning we completely give our 100% through body, mind and words in the service of the spiritual master, then that perfection of that relationship will give that type of confidence in the spiritual master, in the disciple, that that relationship becomes like a friend, like he begins to trust the disciple as a friend. We have in our society such examples. Srila Prabhupada had some disciples, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada would take advices, do you think it is good to do? That means the disciple does service so thoroughly, he completely dedicates himself to that. So we have to start. So if your question is how can a disciple act? No, you cannot artificially act like that. We have to do the service as a servant. But as we do it, we will grow. It will be revealed. I mean, you will see in the dealings from the spiritual master, he will actually gain that trust. And he, like Srila Prabhupada talks about Dr. Bose, like he will reveal his heart to you, what he's thinking, what his plans are. He will ask you questions like that. And further on, parental affection, for example, in his final days, Srila Prabhupada said he wanted to do Govardhan Parikrama. One devotee suggested, we will take you on a bullock cart, right? We'll do Govardhan Parikrama. Prabhupada was very happy. And then Maharaj, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, you're driving us crazy. Because at first they thought, they really considered, is it possible? And they could see he's not going to survive. It's so, the road is not smooth. It would be very difficult for Srila Prabhupada. So they said, so he said, like, Prabhupada, you're driving us crazy. Like, would a disciple and a servant would be able to talk like that? So it is only the intense affection that will elevate us to the higher levels and we can act on that platform. But without having that type of love, if we try to artificially act, it's only going to be repulsive, so we shouldn't even try. So it will be revealed. If we actually come to that level, it becomes natural. For the disciple also, for the spiritual master also, it will be natural.
Is there any Shastric events, like interactions between the spiritual master and the devotee that reflect that?
Shastric. I mean, I was thinking of Madhavendra Puri and Ishwar Puri, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's like Vatsalya Bhava or anything. But the spiritual master was so pleased with the disciple. Madhavendra Puri, when he was in his final days, he was in invalid, and Ishwar Puri would personally, very carefully clean his body, his stool and urine. He would tell him about, Krishna Katha and chant Hare Krishna to him, remind him of Krishna's pastimes. So the spiritual master is actually becoming like a child in front of the disciple, isn't it? Like the disciple is reminding the spiritual master of Krishna. He's bathing the spiritual master, cleaning him and reminding him. And the spiritual master is also actually taking shelter, right? But it is not material. So the Prabhupada says that this is done just so that, to draw out that love from to elevate that disciple to higher and higher levels. That opportunity is given, so Krishna arranges it like that. So then Madhavendra Puri was so pleased with Ishwar Puri. He said, my dear boy, my dear child, may Krishna, bless you, right? I pray that may Krishna bless you. That was his last, the final thought before he left. So how blessed is that disciple? And the result of that was he was in an ocean of love of God, when the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as his spiritual master. So that's the only thing that I'm able to remember.
No, I don't see any hands up. Thank you very much, Mataji. I think the point that you made about the revelation will come to us. We don't go seek out. I think that is the point that was impressed on me. We don't keep on asking, where am I? I guess we should worry about where I am, but the point is that I continue to serve, and whether it is from Krishna, the relationship with Krishna, or the relationship with our Guru, will come from the other side, not from this side. Very, very important point for it to sink into me.
Yes, Mataji. Yesterday also there was a discussion, a question about, whether the jiva living. Often this question comes, whether the living entity fell from the spiritual world, or, is he here always? You may come up with points on this side and that side, but at the end of the day, it will be revealed to me when I go there. Let me work on, what I have on my plate here, right? Let me practice my devotional service, and the higher things will be revealed.
Yeah.
Bhakti is given. It is given. Yeah, it's coming from the higher authorities. So we have to keep ourselves qualified by practicing devotional service.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
So we will end the class here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai. We'd like to thank Mother Arcanabhakti for a wonderful class. And I also want to mention that tonight there's a program at the temple here beginning at 8:30 for New Year's Eve. There'll be kirtan, some games, some prasadam snacks, and it'll go all the way up until midnight. There'll also be Sankirtan tonight on South Street. We'll leave here around 9:30. We'll gather at the Bhakti Garden, Old Govinda's restaurant, at 10 o'clock, and then we'll go down South Street. So 2 programs tonight. If you like going outside on Sankirtan, you can do that with us. Again, we'll leave here at 9:30. It'll begin at 10 o'clock down at the Bhakti Garden. And then there'll also be a program here at the temple from 8:30 to midnight. And breakfast will now be served.